Blog Talk Radio.
Hey guys, this is Those Guys with your host Matt Marrero along with your other host
Satish Ram. I don't get to make jokes because this isn't wrestling.
Yes, we are talking about Steven Universe, Season 1, Episodes 41 and 42, which are Horror Club and Winter Forecast.
I keep calling it Beat City Horror Club, but I know the official name is just Horror Club.
Yeah, no, I get that. I don't know why we thought. I think there were two names for it. Was that it?
Yeah, some of them had a few names like tossed around, so that's one of them.
Yes. Okay. But yeah, I really enjoyed these two episodes. I'm very happy that we're talking about them. I think that, a lot of people might say, "Oh, filler," but it's just, I've said this before on the show. If it's your first time listening in, you hear me say it now, and the idea that we've, a lot of the filler, I think, in both Gravity Falls and Steven Universe, we make a lot of parallels to both shows. They are filler in the sense that they don't advance story, but they are still so entertaining and they have such great character depths that I really don't consider them filler as if they need to be skipped, because a lot of people try to use they try to say, oh, this doesn't advance plot, so let's skip it. It happens sometimes even with like Doctor Who, even Supernatural, let's say, where it's like, oh, it doesn't advance plot, let's skip. But there's usually so much in some of these shows, that
Steven
really,
Universe, I feel like the writers come together and they basically they acknowledge the idea that a show needs filler. How do we make our filler unmissable? Like, how do we make it that they can't not watch our filler compared to everything else? And they do that by throwing in character development. They do that by throwing in things that we will find adorable or, like, really enjoyable that tugs at our heartstrings. And Horror Club was one of the examples, I think, of classic Steven Universe filler. That was just...
Yes.
It had everything you needed in a Steven Universe episode. Winter Forecast melted my fucking heart.
It's a thing of
beautiful.
Yeah, no, and we really need that, I think, because I feel as if you cut out every single quote-unquote filler episode and really tried to live with, these more story-driven, the main story of the idea of, these gems and their fights on Earth and, and the threat coming from elsewhere, right? The idea is that you, by doing this, right, by skipping them all, you end up losing, I think, a lot of, I said character depth, but I really mean that, because I feel as if it makes the show blander, because you sit there and you really don't connect with these characters. I think you can, without some of these episodes, but I really think these episodes add on so much to these characters that by the end of the series, we'll really sit there and think, man, we know them. We really know them. We're friends with them. We hang out with them every week. The idea that, and it's funny because I think the same thing happened with Pokemon in a way, even though Pokemon is all filler technically because it's a story of Ash that never technically existed, technically. So the idea is, that, the entire story. But what happens is, right, I remember going back to watch the first Pokemon movie recently on VHS because I think you and I were discussing the idea of, is that scene there? Because there was a scene cut from the original VHS release in America. So I wanted to find out if it was, and it was cut. But looking at it, I saw the first Pokemon, like that little short, the Pikachu's Vacation. And I sat there and I thought, yes, yeah, right? And I sat there and I thought, wow, it really feels as if I'm just hanging out with old friends again.
You just fucking took me, that was the heaviest nostalgia hit I had in a while. Because, certain things I remember, because it'd be like Dragon Ball Z, and I'd be like, man, I watched that growing up. But,
yeah.
That was like a nostalgia KO punch. Because I remembered it. No, because I remember
that was a nostalgia Kevin Owens punch.
So the fact that actually hit me was like, wow, I remember that vividly.
Yes, but not the second one, because I know that you're probably thinking of the second one where you're like, Bell Blossom with the blossoms and everything. No, the first one with Snorlax.
No, I remember that.
And they all... Okay,
I remember the second one, too, because the second one had Pichu in it. Because it was the introduction to Johto Pokemon. And I was like, Pichu, what the fuck?
Actually, the first one even had a little introduction.
The first one had Pichu,
Snubbull.
I think.
No, it had
Snubbull. That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. And
they're all trying to... I remember this.
Anyway, yeah, no, the tug of war thing. But anyway, what matters is this. What matters is the idea that, because Pokemon went on for so long, you really grew attached to these characters as kids, and then you either go back to watch newer ones with maybe a younger relative, or you still watch, because nothing wrong with continuing to watch it, or you just go back and watch the old ones, and you somehow, I feel as if you reconnect in a weird way. So I think Steven Universe is on that path because of how much their character depth and just world building that they throw at you, that I think if you cut them out, it would really dull the experience.
Yeah, it's a thing where you literally just can't have story progression. It just conceptually, you can't have every episode be quote-unquote non-filler, because then they'll be done in the season and everyone will walk away pissed.
certain I feel like certain shows work very well with that, like a more 40-minute driven. I mean, even professional wrestling, I think, should work more as seasons rather than what they do, which technically they do seasons, but when we talk about it on our pro wrestling shows, Monday Night Raw, and our pay-per-views, how sometimes it does feel a bit more drawn out than something like Game of Thrones, let's say, right? So, or even the following to a certain degree. So yeah, when I look at Steven Universe, I don't feel like it's being drawn out. I just feel like we're really getting to know these characters, and just by the end of it all, if let's say someone, hope not, but they die or something happens, tragic, just or even just a win, good feelings. We sit there and we feel, wow, it's an accomplishment, rather than, oh great, that was done, and then we move on with our lives. Like kind of like what you mentioned, where it's just like it finishes and then we just all move on. There's so much to this series, and I really enjoy episodes like this for that reason. Especially because it isn't like they're just sitting there doing nothing necessarily. There's always a little tiny thing where we have, there's a gem in Horror Club, so it's not as if that's, nothing, right? And then in weather forecast? Winter Forecast, all right. For Winter Forecast, we see more of Garnet's future vision. So it's not as if it's just Steven sitting there going, I am Steven, for about 11 minutes, which still wouldn't be a problem because he's hilarious. But still, the idea that they do little things here and there that really, I do feel like you said, and again, my sentiments being, they are really unskippable. You should not be thinking, what can I skip in Steven Universe? You should really just be sitting there going, I'm going to enjoy this ride. If you come into it thinking, what do I need to skip? I don't know if you're going to enjoy it.
Yeah,
like, I don't really think you're here.
I'll be honest with you. Something like Horror Club, I can understand why people would argue that's under the skippable variety, but I personally don't agree. And I know Matt doesn't, because it was enjoyable, and it added a little depth to not only Ronaldo, but also Lars, because now we know that they were friends. And even Sadie. Also, Steven wouldn't watch TV because he was still grounded, and also the combination of the fact that he was scared, which is doubly funny.
Right. Well, the grounded thing was in Winter Forecast, but still, I really do enjoy the idea of continuity in the show, too, because just the little things. Like, you don't have to sit there and just be like, hey, guys, this is continuity happening right now. No, it's just simple conversation, where it's just, again, in Winter Forecast, and we usually talk about these in order, but just a little quick thing. In Winter Forecast, just, Connie's calling her mom, and it's just, oh yeah, no, we're not watching TV. Steven's still grounded.
And
you sit there, and you're right, because the last time they were all in the same room, the Gems and and Greg and Connie's parents, Steven was grounded for 1,000 years.
Right, and they approved of it.
Yeah.
Nice use of the "it's because we care" line. I remember just.
It was perfect. So I really enjoyed, these two episodes. I really, really enjoyed them. And I'm really happy that we're talking about them. It's been a while. For some of you listening to us in the archives, it hasn't been. Hopefully you're marathoning us like you're marathoning Steven Universe. But for those in real time, it's been a while. But we're really happy to be doing this because we really enjoy Steven Universe. Even the Uncle Grandpa episode.
It could have been better, but I let it happen.
I don't think that episode could have been better. Uncle Grandpa can be better as a whole. That episode was really good.
That happened after this, though, right?
Yes, but I don't consider it a spoiler because it's non-canon. So, to be fair.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to, because remember, my episodes are messed up because we watched them and then now we're podcasting to catch up. But,
No, I understand. Yeah, but, so that's why it's like, no spoilers, just these two. All right, so, Horror Club.
So, Horror Club.
Yeah. I really like the Lars Sadie thing that's going on. I really enjoy it so much because it's just the idea that, you know, again, the little things where it's just, oh, yeah, Lars, I don't want to go to this. Sadie, I'm going to this. Lars, well, I mean, sure.
Yeah, no, it was subtle because it was just like, you're going to go alone with Ronaldo. Damn it, I'm coming.
Yes. And then I love that it's Ronaldo because Ronaldo just comes out dressed up like the Phantom. I believe he had the wolf claws.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he looks like the Phantom, and it's perfect. It's just, you know, it's the Horror Club, and I just sit there and I'm like, oh my God, Ronaldo.
No,
I love
it's great
because
like it's something that we can enjoy and laugh at as fans of the show. But Lars's reaction is like what you would expect. So that was interesting because like you got Steven's reaction, which is like, oh my God, you look so cool, and Lars is like, like because you know it's like an overkill thing.
Where and then Sadie in the middle, just it's nice to meet you, just being so polite. Just it's nice to meet you. Which is very funny that they've never met. I mean, of course, they've seen each other. But it's very interesting because Beach City seems so small to me that it feels like they would have met already. So it's very interesting that they've just kind of, I guess, nodded to each other or maybe, like, just bumped into each other and anything. I mean, to be fair...
I think it's also a thing of, like, it's like, okay, Matt, you know when the idea of, like, I know of that person, but I don't know that person?
Yes. I was going to say, and also the idea...
Ronaldo swung by the Big Donut or bought stuff, but like they've never actually spoken. So it was a thing where it's like, yeah, I'd be happy to actually meet this person.
I was going to say that he's probably not swung by because of the idea that Ronaldo seems to be very much at home.
I thought you were going to make a joke like, do you come here to brood too, Steven?
Oh, God. Yes, no, just the idea that I feel as if Ronaldo just is very much, just very much like a boards himself up at home with his work and doesn't really leave much because, I mean, hey, he definitely does not want to work the fry business. You know, he lives there. That's his home.
That's
so
also
it's interesting.
A thing, too, where technically he may just never, because he is only essentially shown with the family and when he has his, like, little moments. Yeah.
Actually, I'm sorry. He does work at the fry place, doesn't he?
Yeah, because that's his family. His name is Ronaldo Fryman. He and
no. I know his family. I forgot that he actually worked there. But
with Petey? Petey.
Yes, Petey.
I had to think about it for a second.
I love how they all just have fry hair, by the way. I don't think I've mentioned that design thing before. It's really cute to me that they all just have fry hair.
It's just one of the things you smile at, where it's like, how can you get mad at that? It's interesting, too. There's a lot of eateries in the town when you think about it, because you have the Frymans. You have,
it's
like,
a touristy town.
Family and the pizza. And you've got the Big Donut. And it's like, you've got these people together. No, I just like it because it's like, but they don't hate each other at all. Everyone's just really friendly with one another.
Yeah, no, it reminds me of, I don't know about the actual aspect of how they act towards each other because I wasn't there for that long, but it reminds me of when I was just down in Fort Lauderdale doing speech and debate nationals, tournament stuff, right? And we were right by the beach. So you can tell that there were a lot of, of course there were your corporations, but a lot of, stuff was just, hey, come by, this place, this, burger joint here, or, just general food place here, or food place there, or trinkets. No one, it's funny, no one actually out there going trinkets, but actual, a lot of trinket stores in the area, definitely, a lot of hotels. So I think that's the only thing really Beach City is missing from what we've seen so far are hotels. But
that's interesting. I don't think there is one.
But it seems very much like a, hey, tourists, come here. I think Mayor Dewey has even referenced it like once or twice. So yeah, definitely I do feel as if it is like a tourist area. It's just that we don't see them much because, Gems and also Steven, because Steven, he gets around, but he's not old enough to be there. We saw how he just, when he went to that party with Connie when they refused, it was the first time we ever really saw teenager nightlife at Beach City.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, Stevens, 10.
Right, so seeing it mainly from his perspective and his growth, we're not going to find out about the clubs.
Yeah, or any other, stuff about the area.
Straightforward.
It's pretty simple. Yeah, but anyway, so Lars and Sadie have never met, which is very interesting to me. And then they do, and it's really funny how they just hit it off immediately. Because that happens all the time, I feel, to me. Like, it's just when I meet someone through someone else, all of a sudden it's just like, wow, hello.
That's good.
Right?
I leave really horrible first impressions in my experience, so I think it's fun to hear someone who doesn't.
It's really funny because I want to say that's so untrue about us. Like, that never happened, but it did.
Yeah, it did. No, I leave really horrible first impressions, or my first impressions are in situations where I'm not really allowed to make a good first impression. Like, it's really weird.
Yeah,
like, that's what it was with
number
us,
2.
Where,
yeah, definitely. We're not gonna talk about our life history, but the idea is that we definitely were able to connect later when other elements were away.
Right.
When it was just you and I just talking.
Your calls.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And then all of a sudden we're podcasting, and it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
But
yeah. No.
So
I think it's great to see that, especially I guess it speeds up the story because it's a 12-minute show basically.
Right.
So it's cute to have them hit it off right away.
Yeah, but it's also interesting because it ends up being a thing where because they hit it off, it also becomes a Lars somewhat jealousy thing, as we learn later with the fact that Lars and Ronaldo are friends or were friends. And it also becomes interesting because not always, but sometimes friends do end up connecting with the same person, but of course not in the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, not always in the same way. Sometimes, and that causes a lot of issues. But but sometimes it is, interesting how, potential love interests could connect with, friends like they do, whatever. But again, not in a way where, Sadie is just going to make a love triangle or anything. But still, it's very interesting.
Yeah,
how that
nice
also came into play.
The little jealousy from Lars, because I know he tries to play a certain character, but he definitely does like Sadie, and so
of course, and he cares.
So it's just a thing where it's hey, not cool. Sadie's kind of mine in his head. You could tell the actions.
Right. Also, Evil Bear 2, barely alive. Now, I'm a fan. Here's why I'm a fan. Satish. Here's why I'm a fan. Troll 2, okay, and The Gingerbread Man. All right. Those movies exist, I swear, right? I'm sorry. I think it was The Ginger Dead Man. But still.
Are we talking about real life, or are we talking about what was...
Real life.
Wow.
This is real life. Gary Busey was the Gingerbread Man.
Yes!
You think I'm kidding?
Gary Busey.
This exists. Everyone, use your search engine that you use to find Gary Busey as the Gingerbread Man. Also, we had Leprechaun. We've had a decent amount of, of these films with these possessions and things like that. So just the idea of this, bear, right, being possessed, apparently, is brilliant. Also, the fact that whenever they write Ronaldo, I just feel like they understand the internet, or at least some of the people who frequent the internet. That's why it's great to have such a young staff, writing and generally just in these meetings talking, because, I don't want to say anything bad about, they were old, they just wouldn't get it, because that's not true of everyone over a certain age. We shouldn't generalize in any way. Just like we say to certain, people don't generalize us, the younger crowd, we shouldn't generalize the older crowd either. But it is still great to have this young blood in there because they really understand Ronaldo, because the idea that Ronaldo hates CG.
Mm-hmm.
Also, he's an elitist because he sits there and he goes, no true fan, essentially the idea, paraphrase, no true fan would just watch the remake. And I just sat there and I thought, wow.
No, it's spectacular because of the idea of they know what the internet acts like. Not everybody, of course, but they know that there's certain parts of the internet that will act certain ways. They know that certain sects of fans exist. So they're basically like, we're going to portray that in this character and have fun with it.
Mhm. It's brilliant, and I love it. I just love it so much, And of course, you mentioned Steven watching from behind the couch. I love that because it reminds me of a Doctor Who quote, not from Doctor Who, but a quote about Doctor Who. I believe it was Stephen Moffat who mentioned it. The idea that he wanted to write episodes, regardless of what you think about Stephen Moffat. I think there's good and there's bad with some of the stuff that he's done with Doctor Who as a writer and as a head writer. But the idea is that he wanted to create a show, write the show just like the way it used to be when he was younger, where in his head it was the idea that, you watch Doctor Who with your family. It's a family show, right? But you as a kid watch Doctor Who from behind the couch. Yes. So it's hilarious because Steven's sitting there and he's watching the movie from behind the couch.
It's like, are you okay back there? Yep.
Ah, did I miss the part where she eats the hitchhiker's leg? It's perfect. Also, the idea that Sadie knew the movie, by the way. You can even tell. She was like, oh, is this the version? Oh, this is the director's cut version.
Right.
Wow. So she's a horror fan. And it's hilarious, too, because sometimes people try to say things like, oh, they judge, and not in a mean way. They don't sit there and judge in an evil, but just those little things where it's like, oh, Sadie, such a nice, sweet girl. I mean, hell, her voice is, her voice actress is Oates. From
I was going to say,
and she's from Scrubs.
Kate Mizuchi.
Right, Mizuchi. Yeah, she's in that band. Anyway, what matters is this, or that two women agree. What matters is this, right? I totally know what I'm talking about. But what matters is that, she just has this voice for her character, and, she just looks a certain way that you would think, like, oh, sweet Sadie, right? And it's just Sadie, oh, wow, cool, this is the director's version, where you get to see him eat the hitchhiker's leg.
Mm-hmm.
And you just sat there and you thought, I'm sorry, what?
She's so ready for the gore, it's awesome.
Yeah,
it's like
great.
When you hang out. No, I love it because it's like when you hang out with that friend for the first time and actually watch movies with them, and you find out they're totally into all the ridiculous shit you are.
Yeah.
Where you're like, man, I'd love to show, I just got to warn you, this part gets a little bit hardcore because his head gets cut off and stuff like that. It's like, that's it? You're okay with that? I was looking forward to it. Thank you.
That's how I feel when I was like, okay, so there's going to be wires during this Sentai fight scene, and you're like, yes, I'm aware.
Yeah.
Okay,
I can probably see him.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
Like, all right, cool.
I mean, it's the sort of a thing where it's like, if I go into there, as that kind of an asshole, Matt, are you trying to tell me something that was made quite a few years ago in HD has wires? I'm sorry, I can't get behind that, and that's going to take away from my entire attachment to the story and the character development that's involved.
But Satish, it was made 20 years ago, back when.
No. I have to completely ignore what was essentially a really beautiful
TVs
story.
were smaller, and
it was a really beautiful story, by the way. That's what makes up for it. But anyway.
Yes, but yeah. So yeah, Evil Bear or the Sentai I showed you?
The Sentai.
Okay. Die Ranger, by the way, for anyone who's curious.
On Evil Bear.
Right, okay. But anyway, so yeah, I have to admit though, I should have seen it coming, but it really was funny that it's just like, oh, by the way, Ronaldo's house is haunted. I think it was just a really nice twist where it sometimes feels like they don't give. Okay, because even in the last episode that he was in, that he was really featured in, right? It was just, let's not, it kind of felt like the elusive, the character who's looking for the supernatural will never find it. Mm-hmm. Right? Which is, a lot of shows do stuff like that for fun. Just like, oh man, if only I could see a demon somewhere in the future. A demon's walking right past the guy, but it's from behind so he doesn't see the demon. If only one day I will be able to find a troll. Troll walks right behind him, just like, I'm a troll. The guy doesn't see it.
It's
stuff
also
like that.
One of those bad romance comedies where they're both looking for each other and they're in the same place, but they just miss each other. just barely miss each other. But no.
They run right past each other, but they're running so fast they can't see what's in front of them. It's a metaphor for life.
I love you. That was actually really good.
I actually don't know how I did that. But anyway, so
no,
yeah,
so picture of you like moving your hands and making a little rainbow. It's a metaphor. Sparkles.
Imagination. But yeah, so Ronaldo's house is actually haunted. Right, so that's great. Yeah. Also, it's really funny that it's a poltergeist. We didn't mean to do this while the new Poltergeist is out.
Yeah, no.
I want to make that clear.
It's really funny. I don't think, well, and this has been out for a billion years now, so they didn't mean to do it either when the new Poltergeist is out.
Yeah, like we really swear we didn't mean to, but it's just really funny. Where it's haunted by a poltergeist, and it's like, wow. So literally, not even, like Ronaldo's super excited, because it's not even just a ghost. Like, it isn't just a ghost that's like, get out. No, it's just, get out, or else shit will be moved. And Ronaldo's like, thank you, God. You know? So just sitting there, just thank you.
Because he's so interested
Thank you, Buddha. Right? Yeah. Just,
he's also very interested in, like, feeding Lars to it.
That is where things got a little weird. But yeah, although I want to mention before,
great, man.
I think it's okay. It's only funny to me because I feel like it's like a joke where it's like more blood for the blood god, or
yes,
or just the general idea of we must sacrifice the goat to our god.
For me, it was just a thing where it was like we must have a human sacrifice. What are you talking about? We must give it what it needs, Lars. And I like Steven, and Sadie's a girl. We must give it what it needs, Lars.
Oh, my God. I would love if Lars no, they need a virgin. Lars. All right.
Oh, my God. Okay. I see how that didn't work, but still.
No, but I think it was just funny, like you said, the idea where it's just, we must feed it a human. You know, we could probably just fix the light bulb. Human! Like, I want things to dissolve like that just really fast in the real world, where it's just, oh man, the light went out. We must sacrifice you to the Lord Almighty. Just replace the light bulb.
I am the one. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. But yeah.
But, yeah. So, okay, right? Also, by the way, so I don't know if you if you had to, like, do a retake, but I laughed really hard because when Steven called Lars a dink, I had to go back.
It wasn't just you. A lot of people were like, did he just...
Yeah.
Lars is big. It's like, wait, what?
And I go back and it's like, he said dink, but damn it,
they did
why?
That on purpose. Because
they definitely did. Yeah. No, they definitely did that on purpose, and that's what's funniest about it. Just dink, and I'm like, damn you all. Damn you all. Oh, by the way, the house opened up. I want to clarify. The house opened up, and it has a mouse. It's like Amityville Horror and Poltergeist all rolled into one, and I was so happy. As a horror fan of a sentient house horror fan,
yes,
I guess, I was really excited about this episode. I think that's the cool thing, too, where, you know, they knew where they had to take it, and they knew where they couldn't take it. Where they couldn't take it into, like, demonic possession-y stuff, where I know technically the houses are sort of demonic-y, but, I mean, the idea of, like, we can't go Exorcist, you know? We can't go Paranormal Activity, though they might one day. I feel like they will one day. You know, they're like, where can we go with this, right? So they're like, oh, the house itself is haunted. You know, it's possessed by, you know, poltergeisty kind of stuff. And then it really just ended up being a gem. But still, they knew, like, that's where we could go. So we can be, you know, horrible, like horrifying. Not horrible,
right.
Horrifying. Because it scared me when the house opened up and then it had a mouth. I sat there and I thought, wow. You know, and if I'm sitting there like, wow, this is a little scary.
There was some of it was actually like a little bit scary. I'm not gonna like make a joke about
I feel like kids were just sitting there, just like watching it from behind the couch.
Yeah, no.
I mean,
it was like okay, that's a little.
I mean, even the beating heart with Lars carved into it. That's also very much.
I think that was really like okay. again, like I talk about this, not much quote unquote scares me, but I can identify when I'm like, okay, that's really fucking creepy. That was the moment for me in this episode, where like the beating heart with Lars carved into it. I was like, oh my god. Like,
and we don't get why that's relevant yet. So I can kind of understand why Ronaldo would throw him to the gods.
No,
in his head.
That entire scene where it's just like sacrifice Lars, and I'm like, oh my god. And why's Lars dead? Why is Lars dead? What did he do?
And I love Steven, because Steven is just the optimist in all of this. And it's also interesting, where Gravity Falls kind of took this in a different direction, where they had a Halloween episode, a brilliant one, by the way, and they had the kids be desensitized to violence and horror, which is so accurate for our time, right?
Correct.
I can definitely see.
Yes.
I feel so. From what I've seen from little brothers, my little brothers, and just general, it really feels like there is a desensitization, if that's the word, to horror, right? But I love how Steven is just the exact opposite of that, because he really embodies this, this spirit that it's like when we were kids. Really, when we were kids, because when you and I were kids, or at least when I was, it was the idea that, I would love to watch Scary Movie, Dad. Right? Not the actual movie, Scary Movie. A scary film. I would love to watch this horror film, Dad, and then I'm watching it, but not really. Because for me, it wasn't from behind the couch. For me, it was through my hands. So I would think of the Vulcan salute, and that's just how I would be looking through my hands to see what's going on. That was how I watched horror films when I was a kid. Right? So I understand that, because that's how we were, but now I feel like there's just a bit of detachment from them because of the fact that, there's YouTube. So any kid can look up horror stuff on YouTube and then just be shielded from it when they go to the movies. Satish, you dead?
Yeah, hello?
I thought you died.
No, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. I was actually having a phone issue. That was my fault. And I was agreeing.
So your phone is possessed?
Yes. What I was saying is, it's funny because I botched the sentence, so I'm really glad that didn't make it on air. But
I'm happy you mentioned that you botched the sentence.
I was trying to say that the idea that, it's so much easier because of the internet to access everything. And, not even making jokes like the porn, but, no, literally everything. Information about the world, and that includes horror stuff, too, where, YouTube is such a big sensation and so easily accessible that things like shock value, those shock value scares. Do you remember the fad when it was just like a calm car driving down the giant face? Oh, my God.
Yeah, what's really funny is that's the only one that I remember.
Gravity Falls, of course, made a big joke of that, where it was like, it's a cute little kitten in the face. But
that's the only one that I remember. Just a nice car, and then all of a sudden, just and that actually scared me because of the fact that it just popped out at you like that.
Oh, that scared the crap out of me because I didn't know what the hell was coming, and I was like, what?
The only way I can describe that now to someone who maybe has never seen it. Imagine you're going to go on a date with someone. It's a blind date, right? And you're like, oh man, let me see my blind date. And then from the corner, from the corner, I appear.
How is that describing that at all?
You're horrified.
No.
By how sexy I am.
That wouldn't cause horrification.
I have an enormous penis.
Yeah, that might be a bit of a
No, but I love that I'm trying to make self-loathing humor, and you're just like, no, let me analyze it.
No. You look like Jesus. If anything, that would be the only horrific thing. Where it's like, oh, God, Jesus is back and I've been sinning.
Jesus is back, I've been sinning, and apparently I'm dating the Lord.
This is not going to go well.
Oh, God, the things that I sent the Lord via text. Okay, let's get back on track.
I'm just laughing that Jesus is texting you, apparently.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You look at me and you're like, oh, good God. Also, he's just as short as we imagined Jesus would be at the time. But anyway, people were shorter back then. Anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
So I'm really happy, though, all jokes aside, I'm really happy that it was a gem at the end. Because I was wondering, I was like, where are we going with this? Are we going to, is it going to be a gem or something? And then it was. And I thought, oh, that's fun. You know, here we are, back in our reality, our Steven Universe reality. You know, where it's a gem.
Mhm.
And it kind of tied everything together. But then, the flashback, you know, that projection, that warmed my heart, but also just made me so sad.
Yeah, and it made sense in a way, because, like, they were kids. You know, so I was like,
yeah. Mhm. And the idea that, you know, I sit there and I think, in a weird way, it's funny too because, like, okay, technically they were always going to go down that path because, you know, Lars and Ronaldo both felt that way. So it was going to clash eventually. But it's sad that technically the house is the one that caused it. So it's a complete misunderstanding. I mean, of course, it's already a misunderstanding by itself. But the idea that the house/gem is the one that caused all of it, like all of that was caused, yes, again, it was going to happen eventually no matter what because of their personalities clashing. But it really sucks that it was such a huge misunderstanding based on an outside force that technically can't even be blamed.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
excuse me for a second. Yeah. Overall, I feel like they don't get to take much liberties with, like, creepy stuff in Steven Universe as much. So they probably had a lot of fun with this episode as a whole, like, before we move on.
Yeah.
Because I look at the time, I'm like, oh, yeah, we're going to move on. And the Lars-Ronaldo thing, I think it's interesting because I guess, like, I assume based on their dedication and continuity, it's going to be brought up in the future where, like, you're going to see them talking a bit calmly, and it's like, that's implied that they're okay now. Or like they took time to talk about whatever happened.
Yeah, but it's just so interesting that they did that. And then, of course, you know, the idea that, you know, Ronaldo's the one that gets the quip in at the end, which was cute. And then it just cuts. So that was nice, you know. But speaking of cute, dear God, episode 42, dear God, winter forecast. This episode, you said it best. This episode warmed your heart, and I agree.
And it was really, like, the ending made me so happy that I couldn't speak. I just smiled.
And I think it's one of those things where it's really funny how, you know, and of course they did this on purpose, the most heartwarming episode happened with the name Winter in it and also being about snow and everything. You can tell. They were just like, let's do this. Let's make the one that will melt everyone's hearts be about a snowstorm.
That's cute. And I think forecast here was like kind of it was like, I don't think this is a double entendre because it's not exactly a sex joke, but the idea of, like, it's the literal forecast of the weather.
Double meaning.
But also,
double meaning.
Yeah. But also the idea, like, forecast meaning, like, predicting the future. So, like...
did not even think about that. Right, correct.
Smooth. That's really smooth.
Yes.
And I'm glad.
One thing I enjoy, I think, is, so we had, of course, the continuity that we all noticed, straight up. You know, the idea that was very easy to notice, which was the fact that, you know, Steven's still grounded and that future vision exists, right? But something very interesting, I think, that maybe some people, like, of course they know because it was mentioned a lot in the episode, but it didn't really just click. Connie's mom's a doctor, obviously, right?
Yes.
But so it's funny how it makes sense for her to know all this stuff about food. But she's a kid, so she doesn't have a full grasp on it. So she sits there and she's like, bone marrow. But if you're old enough to understand what bone marrow is, you want to laugh because it is cute, but at the same time you're like, no, kid. Oh, God.
Yeah, no, it's kind of funny because, like, I did kind of chuckle at that. Where I was like, that's kind of amusing.
You know, the idea that, like, certain dyes, you know, that are used in certain foods are made from, like, crushed beetles. And we don't bat an eye because of how good certain things taste. But it's the idea that, yes, some of your food is made up of crushed beetles. They're crushed way in advance, don't worry. But they're crushed. You know? So it's one of those things where you sit there and you're like, oh, this is what I'm eating. You know? So it's really funny where Connie gets this knowledge. She knows because of her mom. But because she's a kid, it just doesn't click. Like, she understands some of it. Like, she's not going to sit here and just be a parrot. You know, she's not an idiot. But still, the idea that, you know, she's so young that it's not like, no. Like, Connie. Like, you know, like, she's like, she can read it. And, of course, she understands, like, oh, my mom says, like, high fructose corn syrup is bad. But you and I understand the depths where we're like, where I will admit, we'll still have some stuff with high fructose corn syrup, but we kind of understand, like, maybe not all of the high fructose corn syrup, maybe not everything, in moderation. But they're kids, so it just, she gets it, but she hears it, but she doesn't really get it. And I think that's what's cute about, those scenes, talking about food and things like that. We even saw it happen when she was talking about that doctor show, because her mom's a doctor. And the doctor show she loves to watch, but it's clearly soap opera doctor show.
Right, so she loves it, but her mom is like, that's not an accurate representation of life.
Exactly. So, all right. Moving forward, right, because we were talking about, Steven's still grounded, which is great continuity, future vision, which I love, the continuity general, like, Garnet mentioning, hey, I have future vision. And Greg made me laugh a lot in general. But I love that, I just love the idea, right, because I feel like Greg a lot. And I feel like just something that he said, not verbatim, but just the general concept, is me in a nutshell. Just, they think I'm responsible. So I need to keep on making them think that lie is true.
Yeah, that made me laugh so hard because, like, I totally understand that. Just like, no, they think I'm a good, responsible individual. I'd like to keep that going. Please let me do that. It means everything to me.
Yeah, that's why I love shows like this where, a kid might chuckle, but it takes someone over a certain age, even just a teenager, to think, wow, I get that a lot. Where I can definitely feel like sometimes people are like, wow, that Matt, well-adjusted, responsible, a little bit kooky, adult. And I have to sit there, and I hear of this, and I sit there in my room going, happy they think that, right? Because that's kind of, because that's just kind of, and then I go outside. Hello, my name is Matthew Christopher Marrero. I run business. You run business? Yes, I run business. That's how I feel. That should do it. That does it. So, yeah. Also the fact that, again, Connie, because she's smart, because she's around, her parents, she just knows certain words. So she's, Steven, are you procrastinating? No, I'm wasting time. Just, it was beautiful. Just that makes a lot of sense. Also, the fact that they had they had a changing sequence. Just the whole, like, seeing Greg in different outfits, right? Which was most popular, at least in my head, in the 80s. Right? And what do? The last sequence that Steven agrees on, it seems like, that's the one, is Greg stepping out from the 80s with an outfit that he hasn't worn in 30 years. And he definitely wore when he used to perform.
The outfits in general made me laugh, though, because I thought it was adorable that they were like, well, we need to just spend time with each other. And first off, the concept of the episode, by the way, the idea that he could see everything that was happening in terms of all the possible options, I really liked that.
It was just weird at first because at first it felt like a time loop.
I was confused. And then I put two and two together, and I'm like, oh, my God, she gave him future vision.
But even before, because before future vision, right, I was like, oh, what is this, right? And then it's like, oh, hey, we're working with this warp thing. And I'm like, oh, is that the cause of it? Because a lot of shows, not a lot, but a decent amount, and I really love when this happens, the idea of, oh, this, something happens, and then, like, in that third portion or fourth portion or whatever it is, we find out the cause. But not exactly. Like, it happened, I believe, it was a Simpsons episode, actually. Sorry, a Simpsons episode really far back, right, where they ended up following Homer, Marge, Bart, and Lisa. And things happened to each and every one of them that couldn't be explained until you saw the other one's story. So it'll be a thing where, like, an explosion happens. Oh, no, there's an explosion on the road or something, right, for Homer, and Homer has to drive out of the way. We learn later that, like, Bart lit something on fire. So the way things came together. So I'm a really huge fan of that idea of just, oh, things are coming together. So I thought that was the case. I thought, oh, it's because this thing, something bad happens, and then That's why this is all happening. It's like, nope, Garnet's future vision, which does show, hey, don't come back to the house. They're very busy. The universe can explode. But yeah.
Excuse me for a second. I'm just going to be honest here. I'm just having a lot of trouble with my throat tonight for some reason, because apparently I've drank like pure acid. No, it's not even the idea like, I'll talk like Batman, but like I'm hurting. So talking is weird, but more importantly.
And what's really funny is I feel like you're just nodding, but you don't know that you're just nodding because we're on the phone.
I do that a lot, and I think it's funny.
But so anyway, the time reversal thing was weird, but I did enjoy, the different possible outcomes. It was really funny when they stayed in the van because I thought it was going to be the outcome. Like when they said, "Let's stay in the van," all I could think of was The Shining.
It was so confusing to me. The first, I guess I'll call it the first vision. But
right.
The idea of like, oh my God, I was like, they're gonna get hurt. Like when Greg's like, no, we have to walk. I'm like, oh my God, this is terrible, and I got worried.
Yeah, me too. And then they're just fine.
Yeah, no. The problem ending made me so happy. The idea of like, no, you should stay over. We can't let you. We can't let you go back in this.
Yeah.
The Haishwards are all about safety. Is it safety?
Yes.
God, I love that so much. Because that became
a
running gag on the internet for a while, and it made me very happy.
Oh, God. Yeah. No, I think it's interesting because of the fact that, it really showed, like, it was a great message, I think, for everyone, where it's just, hey, get your stuff done, right? Just get your shit done. And when you do, good things can happen. Because, before getting it done, it's like, yes, they were going to stay there, but they were staying there reluctantly, and also it would definitely have a future impact on Steven and Connie
and Connie's relationship, right?
Yeah, and also just the fact that Greg now is looked at as irresponsible, so that's even worse.
Right. So the turnaround at the end is just great because Greg is looked at as responsible for getting them there in the nick of time. And
he has a nice sweater.
Right, and then the idea of, like, they're allowed to stay over, and Steven and Connie get the moment, and that moment was beautiful to me. Because it was just a cute, because what did they say? Like, they wanted to stay up and just watch the snowfall? And saying it was cute. Watching it actually happen was what melted me. I just smiled. I just couldn't, I smiled.
Yeah.
Because it was just so nice. Like, that moment was... That's Steven and Connie. It's just innocence and happiness, and it's great.
Yeah, it really is, And also the fact that, something more interesting is that apparently stuff like that is what goes through Garnet's head all the time. But I would assume it was slowed down for Steven. But even then, it might not be. So in Garnet's head, she may be going through this constantly of just... because the thing is, what I mean constantly is the idea that it's not like she sees things in her head as memories. She lives through them.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a very interesting aspect, where it's just the idea that, she lives, let's say, where it's like, can this battle kill me? Let's say, like back, when like maybe they like fought, these beings. Can this battle kill me? She lives right before the sword hits her, or right before something hits her. And it's just like, okay, can't go with that plan.
Yeah, but it makes me wonder, like, is that how it works for... I assume that's how it works for her all the time. Like, she just doesn't see it. She has to live it.
Oh, I see. But I assume it's faster, I would hope. I would assume it's faster because she's a gem.
Right, and it was drawn out for the sake of us, like, enjoying the episode, of course.
Right.
But, man, that's kind of amazing to think that, like, that messed up Steven. And that was, like, what, 3 outcomes?
3 outcomes, and she's probably lived through billions.
Yeah, like,
and I only say that.
Cool.
Yeah, and she has to because, like, that number. When you think about it, the idea that she's lived for X amount of years, and she doesn't use it for every daily task, but at the same time, she does fight gems on a possible daily basis. So she's lived through billions of possibilities,
which is insane.
Yeah. The fact that her brain doesn't explode, it's kind of funny how you think back to the Dance Dance Revolution episode.
Yeah, Beat Revolution?
Yeah, something like that. Yes, something like that. Yes, Beat Meat Revolution or something.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, it was very interesting because you don't know about that then, but now that you realize, you're like, yeah, this kind of makes sense. Like Garnet's ability to, I guess, analyze, sense, and having this third eye. It kind of makes sense with what she can see.
Yeah, because she can predict the future in a way. So, like, the idea of, I just think it's funny because wouldn't that be kind of bad for something like, okay, like, let's say you're playing that, like, Dance Dance Revolution type game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't you see every possible arrow?
I think that's why she got so sucked into it.
Okay, that I understand then.
That's the problem.
She can't leave because she can see everything that's happening every second.
Yeah,
and she just
so it could also
be.
It could also be a problem with every video game, technically.
Yeah,
but definitely in you think of anything that involves you like having to because like look at think about what's it called? I believe in that episode she beat the whack-a-mole. Because there's very few outcomes. It's like boom, 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 boom. We're done. Right? But a game like that involves, Guitar Hero, Dance Dance Revolution, things like that, just requires such speed that, it's like, oh, click. But for her, it's like she can get it. But she also knows that she can't in some ways. So it's just the idea that it's attracted to all of these possible outcomes and scenarios. That it's just like she's fixated on it. And I can't believe we just took time to discuss Garnet with Dance Dance Revolution. But it happened.
No, but it just makes sense because Future Vision is, like, expanded on in this episode.
Yeah. But, so interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. Something I want to mention that we have to mention before it's all over. Connie said Itadakimasu.
Yes, my God.
She's a
weeaboo.
I don't like that term, but I understand. Yes, I understand.
Okay, I'm not saying it to insult her, but she is an incredible fan of Japanese culture, and that's adorable.
That's what's funny. It's not even that she's incredible. It's that, it's very interesting to use that word specifically and everything because because she's young, she reminds us of when we were young in the sense that, and I don't want to I don't want to make fun of anyone who might say certain words in Japanese, but, as someone who has dabbled in fan subbing, the idea of fan subbing and, like, some of the, behind the scenes stuff, whatever, I'll just say this much. The idea of using just a few words, is nothing compared to the full grasp of a full language, So the idea is, here's what I'm trying to say. The idea is that, when we were teenagers, and I feel like when a lot of people are teenagers, they might use, like, even my kids in speech and debate will say certain words like that. Not Itadakimasu, but, like, little words like that. Or they'll make that running joke where they'll call their friend senpai. And it's great, too, because it'll be a thing where, like, they'll call senpai, like, senpai, but, like, the person generally doesn't hear them, and they'll just, like, sulk away. But, like, as a joke, they'll be like, senpai didn't notice me. And I try not to die.
I love that joke still.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. So, anyway, what matters is this, right? What matters is that I do feel as if, learning the entire language, really learning the entire language, like, I'm not going to judge you for that because that's a beautiful thing. And I'm not judging you for only using a few words either. But what I'm saying is that, the idea that it is something that I think you do when you're first starting to watch anime or even just in your teenage years, and you and I don't really do that anymore unless it's for humor, humorous effect. And again, I'm very sorry if you do. Just, understand that it's just a bit different than the full language.
Like, I know you're tiptoeing around because you don't want to offend
only
anybody,
because, I won't bring it up because, because there are certain people that like certain subs that use that one word kind of like, oh man, this word needs to be left in Japanese because there's no way you can translate nakama into English. And it's like, but it means friends. No, but there's a bond that's greater than friends. Family. No, too strong. Family? So it gets... So that's what I'm saying. By the way, if you're wondering...
I know what you're talking about, and I just, it just immediately reminds me of just all according to Keikaku.
Exactly. And also the idea, by the way, that, do you know when I say Nakama, I'm referring to, like, One Piece stuff, right?
Correct.
Yes. Because not specific groups necessarily, because I don't want to call it any subgroups out there, but referring to the idea, although I might by accident. I might by accident. Oh, okay. No, but the idea of like, a lot of One Piece subs or some One Piece subs back in the day would say like, no, it has to be my Nakama, but it would just turn Singer. It's like, I'm here to protect my Nakama, and it's like, you're here to protect your friends.
Your what? Yeah. No, my Nakamas. Yeah. You know what? You win. I don't have a response for that. Just take your Nakamas and go. Take your Nakamas and go home.
Oh God, you know what the problem is? He took his Nakama and he went home.
Wow, how could he freaking do that? Well, he wanted to go home in one piece. Boo. But no.
Get off the stage. He's not here all week.
Piece. Hey. But
more importantly, yeah.
No,
so more importantly,
it's hard to talk about winter forecast because how do you spend half hour talking about something that made your heart like kind of flutter and that's it?
That's what happens to a lot of our shows when we love something too much. We either have to like find enough to like critique it, or it just becomes a thing where it's just it was gold. The end.
And that's
it was gold. The end. No, but one thing I'll say before we go that I really enjoyed too is the idea that your father can't drive in this weather. We see the outcome of his dad of her dad driving in this weather.
It was kind of funny.
Yeah, no, I love those little things. That's why, as I mentioned before, I really like this show. Just the little stuff like that where it's just, one sentence here and then all of a sudden it comes up. And if you're not paying attention, you might sit there and be like, oh, so, of course Dad's going to crash. It's like, yeah, they said that before. They literally said it out loud. So you have to – it's funny, though, because sometimes if you get too used to it, you expect it. So like, you can sit there and you can take notes based on whatever they say in the first 2 minutes and be like, okay, so I can map out the entire episode. So, which can possibly hurt it, but again, I really enjoy the ride. As I said, I really enjoy the ride. I really enjoy the show, and I really can't wait for, where else it goes. And this is a show that I don't want to ever end, and it has to. It has to. I mean, it really does. But I really don't want it to ever end because it's really good.
No, I agree, and I know obviously it has to end. We had this discussion, like, yes, we know. But it's so easy to get into.
Also, another thing before we kind of end up doing our spiel on, here are our social media accounts and everything. I can't believe that I didn't know who Garnet was in real life. And I know that she's Estelle, like I've heard it before. But I didn't realize that in some of the commercials that you and I have in the U.S., her music is in them.
Yeah, Estelle is a musician. And also, I mean, one of the more popular songs recently, like a couple of years ago, was American Boy with Kanye West. And this was like a multinational, multinational is not correct. I'll just say international. It was an international hit for a bit. So,
right.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah. No, it's really funny because I don't remember the exact commercial, nor do I remember the exact song.
When she gets to bust out a song in Steven Universe, it's really a special thing because she is a musician.
Oh, yes. But no, it's really funny because I'm just sitting at my computer, and all of a sudden I hear this song in the background, and I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, that is Garnet. The same song that I've heard hundreds of times because it's just on in the background, my TV's on. All of a sudden I just listen to it. I'm like, wait, that's Garnet. And then I look it up, and that's Estelle. And then I was watching the Late Late Show with oh, come on. It's funny because I always call him Craig because his character was called Craig on Doctor Who, but it's like, no, Craig was the last guy who did it.
Yeah.
No, I like
the
Craig
former
Ferguson.
Craig Ferguson.
No, James Corden.
James Corden.
Yes. So James Corden, who
it's
has
funny,
Reggie Watts.
I could have given you that, but I liked...
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Like the former Craig.
He's on my DVR, so it's fine. So James Corden and with Reggie Watts, and they had Estelle on. And I was so excited because it's hilarious because he's talking to her, and he's just like, hello, hello, Estelle. And she's like, hello, Craig. And I'm like, oh, God, it's Garnet.
Yeah.
She didn't say Craig because his name isn't Craig. But still, it's like, oh, God, it's Garnet. It was really funny. And it was just, it's also one of those things where it's really interesting that she can just cosplay Garnet. easily. Like, not a lot of people can just cosplay their characters like that. Not a lot. Some can. But I don't think, there's just certain characters that it'd be really hard to just be like, yeah, cosplay so-and-so, easily. It can happen, but very rarely, I feel.
They tried to get the voice actors in the mold of who the character is.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen the other voice actors, sadly, but in thinking of Garnet, it's perfect.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, Estelle sometimes does look like Garnet, which is hilarious. You put the sunglasses on, and it just looks accurate.
And the hair.
That's true. Although the hair, I think not so much, but still.
But anyway, so here we are. We're at the end of our show. We would like to thank you guys for listening to those guys. Here I am about to talk to you about all the great other shows that we have in the archives. And in the archives being on our website, which is thoseguysontheradio.tumblr.com, where you can find our WWE Raw shows, our WWE pay-per-views, our Gotham, Arrow, Flash, The Following, The Walking Dead, a bit. We also have other Steven Universe episodes. We have Gravity Falls. We have ourselves Pokemon video games that we've done. We also have Black Dynamite and Mike Tyson Mysteries, among many others, that we've done, that we've podcasted on. Also, you can check out our archives, which are also located on, but also future shows that we've posted on our Facebook, which is /ThoseGuysOnTheRadio, at our Twitter, which is @ThoseGuysRadio, and our Instagram /ThoseGuysOnTheRadio. Also, you can search Those Guys on the Radio or simply Those Guys Radio on iTunes, and you can check us out there. And, of course, our Gmail, thoseguysontheradio@gmail.com, which, of course, you can email us there. You can email us about different opportunities if you want us to promote your product or your service, your legal product or your legal service. We can definitely come to an agreement on that as well. And, yeah.
And, yeah, Matt, of course, doesn't mean, if you're a lawyer, contact us. He means, if there is a product that you have that is not illegal, we will promote it.
As, Matt, what could possibly be illegal? Drugs. I mean, just straight out, just drugs. But pharmaceuticals, not pharmaceuticals. Just
pharmaceuticals are straight legal if prescribed.
Yeah, so that's the thing. So not pharmaceuticals, that, I'm not referring to, pharmaceuticals, sure. But that's not the illegal that I'm referring to here.
If we get sponsored by a pharmacy, I think it'd be kind of funny. Because the first thing we always say, we can't promote your drug business. Sponsored by local pharmacy.
I love it. Oh, God. The takes would be terrible. Watch Steven Universe on this drug. Cut. That's not where... Take this with a daily dose of Steven Universe. Cut.
No. Can't do that either.
Just say, take the drug. Take the drug. Cut. We got it.
Oh, man.
But anyway, so again, thank you all for listening to Those Guys. Remember, thoseguysontheradio@gmail.com. If you want to talk to us about promoting something, or just sending us an email telling us how much you like us or how much you hate us, or saying, hey, you should totally do this show. And we may. We would love to hear your ideas, your suggestions. We definitely would love to, talk to our fans. All one of you. I'm kidding. There's 2 now. We've confirmed that. And there could be more.
And Maddie's back, except they don't listen to Steven Universe.
Right, our fact checker Maddie's back. So, yeah.
On fire.
Anywho, yeah, on fire. So say goodnight, Satish.
Good night, Satish.